consciousness, the final frontier. These are the voyages into the universe between your ears. Our mission, to explore collective wisdom, seek out amazing secrets, and spread the message of personal potential.
All right, hello everyone out there. I am Tim C. Starr, your host for The Universe Between Your Ears. On this particular voyage, I'm joined as always by my co-captain, Mr. Gabi.
That's great. It's a great journey. Thank you.
And I have a feeling we're going to do some laughing on this episode. Our guest today is Jill Richburg. Jill is an attorney. Sorry. She's a life coach. She's an acting teacher. In other words, she bores easily.
Exactly.
One thing that has held her interest, though, is helping other people improve their lives by learning to find and use their natural powers. She designed her own coaching system after being screwed by the law of attraction. And for her words, falling asleep repeatedly during meditation. She teaches the Sanford Meisner acting technique at, is it Karamu House?
Karamu House.
Karamu
Yes.
House, of course. The oldest black theater in the U.S. And earlier she taught for several years at the Matthew Corozine Studio in New York City. Jill, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Love that intro that I wrote.
Yeah.
It's embarrassingly accurate at points.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I realized earlier, in some of the other questions we asked, you said you were a recovering
yes.
Attorney.
Recovering attorney, yes.
Yeah, we have a friend who's also a recovering attorney.
Excellent. One day at a time.
And before we started this, we were talking really, really briefly. The name Tony Robbins came up. He's actually working with Tony Robbins right now.
Really?
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. I love Tony. He's just amazing.
Yeah. I like watching him, but his style of coaching would not work for me. I'd be like, get out of my face. I'm leaving.
He's a lot. I would imagine you have to really be ready, to pull the trigger on whatever you're trying to get done. And then you go to him and he just takes you that last step, I would imagine.
Yeah. Well, he's a good example of how there's a style for everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
He's a very in-your-face kind of style, very aggressive. Doesn't want to hear the story, which, most people really, truly don't. But he really, it's like, he's not polite in the way he shuts people down a lot of the time.
No, not all the time. And,
tact is not necessarily the first thing on his list.
No, not necessarily. But, and I can understand that, and that's kind of, I guess there are different sort of overall buckets of life coaches. I don't know. And buckets, categories. And, you've got your accountability coaches that, it's kind of like Weight Watchers. If you're getting weighed at the end of the week, you're not going to eat the donuts, so that's one thing that's pretty common, I think, with a lot of life coaching. It's okay, we're going to do some goal setting and you're going to tick these off the list. And then when we talk in each session, you're going to tell me how you did. I'm going to shame you if you didn't do well, and that kind of thing. And I guess, that serves a purpose, right? Nobody wants to be embarrassed or have to say to someone else, I really blew the whole week because I didn't do anything. I get that, and then there's sort of like the coaches that I would say focus more on the more squishy, thing.
Warm and fuzzy.
Whether you want to call it warm and fuzzy or, some of them will bring in a little bit of law of attraction, a little bit of, it's kind of an ad hoc. And really, that's the way I started. Honestly, that was the way I started. I knew I wanted to do coaching. I didn't have like a sort of a plan as to what this is going to look like. So I just started with friends and friends of friends. This was years ago. We're going back like 16 years now. And, just kind of felt my way through and got better and better at it. But I was determined, right? I wanted to bring something different to it because my goal was, and this is not smart from a financial standpoint, my goal was to give people the coaching and then they'd be done with me, right? Unless they wanted to come back just like for a little refresher or whatever. But I wanted everybody to have enough so that, okay, anytime they had a problem or, wanted to embark on a new challenge or something, they knew what to do, right? And
you wanted to teach them to fish rather than just give them the fish.
Yeah, exactly. And make it easy, so that you don't have to like remember a whole bunch of complicated things. Now, that came later. Initially, I really wanted it to be complicated because I wanted people to need me, And as an attorney, I did. And, and as an attorney, I was like, oh, this has got to be complicated and multi-part, and all this stuff. And I tried a bunch of things that came out of my head. I thought, I think this will make sense. It seems to have a sufficient level of complexity to satisfy me and maybe make the client feel like they're getting something. I don't know what I was thinking. And, some of that stuff worked, but the more I experimented, kind of beta testing on friends and family, I ended up coming up with something really simple. And once I got it and tried it out on people and saw the results, I was like, oh, okay, this is it. It's really simple. And once I tell people what it is, they're probably not going to need me again. But so that kind of happens. I do get clients come back, though, when they're saying, okay, I know all the rules and regulations, but now I'm actually doing something and I want to see if I'm applying these principles correctly. Can you guide me, kind of in the field now? But yeah, that's what I do. So if that's not sufficiently muddy,
we'll throw some more dirt in there.
I'll throw some more dirt in there. I've got time. So yeah, that's what it is. I call it will be done coaching.
Right.
Life coaching. It is based on the principle of your will. And this is not the be-all and end-all definition of will, right? But this is the definition that I use. And basically, will for me is kind of the immortal repository of consciousness that each person has. And it's individualized for your life, okay? It chunks down all the possibilities from the universe and makes you a human being, a man, a woman, a certain age, living in a certain place with a certain personality, etc. Otherwise you'd wake up tomorrow and you could be a giraffe, because there's just too many possibilities. But your will is not going to allow that. And that's how I define it. So, when I'm working with people, it's to not find out everything that's in your will, because I think there's plenty of coaching and training like that where you either get hypnosis or you sit down and you just kind of brainstorm all your blocks on certain issues. And I think I don't deserve love because my mother told me I was fat, or you go through all these things. None of that kind of inventory work is required, but you access it by using the language of what I call absolute truth, right? So if you're absolutely truthful with yourself on any given topic, that this accesses this repository of consciousness, right? And the interesting thing that I'm finding or have found is that it doesn't really matter that much what you say to it. It does, as long as it's truthful. And once you start this dialogue, things start moving much more easily and quickly.
So I want to ask this question the right way. Everybody asks themselves questions, right? We all have conversations with ourselves in one way or another. But if you're struggling with something, you can ask yourself the question, what am I really after here, or whatever. But it doesn't the way I can't even get it out. How I'm demonstrating what I want to ask. If you're not asking the right question,
right, will
you still get the right answer?
Interesting. So
how hard is it for maybe just for some people, maybe it's for most people, how hard is it for them to ask the right question?
Yeah. Well, actually, I don't have people ask questions. I have every client do something that I call a willingness list every day. And it's a very simple, super short list that you sit down every day and you write on the top of the page, I am willing to be, do, or have, right? And you just check in with your body, your heart, your soul, your feelings. And you can kind of say, all right, I woke up on the wrong side of the bed today, let's just say. And the truth is, you have to go to work. Let's say you hate your job. You're not fond of the people there, right? So maybe if you're writing that list as you're having your morning coffee, maybe the real truth is, I'm willing to go to work and just be dripping with nastiness. that might be the truth. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's not goal-oriented at all. It's just to start telling the truth. Sometimes on different topics, on different days, different moments, your will shifts during the day. You know, things are going on, things are popping up in your mind, or you're forgetting certain things. You might, about the job topic, let's say the next day, you might be like, all right, I'm willing to make the best of the day. Maybe you can't even say that truthfully. Maybe it's, I'm willing to consider maybe not screaming at somebody today. You know, as long as it is 100% true, things start shifting very quickly. The second part of the assignment is you start watching everything that goes on in your life really closely, which we don't do. Right. Or we see things and we chalk it up to coincidence or it's something unrelated. But if you start getting really conscious about looking and listening and seeing what's going on, sometimes even the bad things, you'll see that, oh, you know what? I see that this is connected to something that I either wrote on some of my lists or something that I never addressed at all on my list, but that has been an issue for me. You know, maybe this is something that needs to move out, and it does. I've had a number of clients say, I don't get along with a certain person, right? And maybe they put on their willingness list, I'm willing to get along better with such and such person. It could be that within 24, 48 hours, they have a huge blow up and never speak again. Mm-hmm. Right? So I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what needed to happen. That's correct, or maybe you'll get back together later, or maybe you don't need to be interacting kind of with the personalities that you've been using. And if you're going to come back together, it's going to have to be something different. So, it's not asking questions, because I find that when we ask ourselves questions, most of us are so guilt-based and shame-based. The answer that's going to come back to almost any question is because you suck. That's why, right? Yeah. And like you said, we don't know what questions to ask. We don't know what's at the root of this stuff most of the time.
Or, to ask a good question, you have to be honest in the first place. And if you're not good with that, then you won't ask a truly real question.
Right.
You won't ask a question that has some.
Yeah, the questions are that's where it all starts, right? Asking the right one, and who's to say what the right question is? You see,
right?
So, right. But I mean, I think that you feel good about this question. Somehow it's fulfilling or something. It meets the criteria of, I want to say inspiration. Like it inspires you in some way, right? The question feels, okay, this is a different level for me. I haven't asked this question before. Maybe, right?
Sometimes maybe, but what if you're dealing with something that's painful, and asking the question hurts?
Yeah.
No, then those questions.
That's still valuable. It's still valid. It's still important to do. It's all those things. But
you mentioned before when introducing wonderful Jill. That you had an interesting experience with the law of attraction. I don't remember, Tim, what exactly you said. I'm just
screwed. Screwed was the word we used.
Well, man, oh man.
Even though we're sitting here and you're describing using it.
I love to hear some bashing about the law of attraction, because then I'll use it.
I feel like the law of attraction is one of those principles that has gotten misstated over time, or I don't know, somebody edited a manuscript and that's the one that got saved, or something happened. You know what I mean?
It should happen. So lost in translation. Something got lost in translation.
Yeah, the Bible. Look at the Old Testament, which I've been reading lately and going, wait a minute, this cannot be the first draft here. But,
a lot of stuff gets misinterpreted or translated wrong right here.
That's also.
You might read it or somebody say it exactly the way it's meant to be, but you hear it or the way you're going to hear it.
Exactly. Yeah. So there's a lot, but I did all the New Age. I don't want to say all, but I did a lot of the New Age stuff and oh my God, the law of attraction. If I can boil it down from my understanding and maybe from my misunderstanding, I'm open to that. What I walked away with, especially, after The Secret, remember The Secret? The movie? And so it kind of got turned into, or, cemented as, you have to feel good to have good, right? You have to think positive to have positive. And I don't know, to me, that just made me feel so guilty. Because it was like, okay, something bad happens, or something you don't want to have happen happens, or something you wanted to have happen doesn't happen. So now you feel bad, right? Mm-hmm. Now I also feel bad for feeling bad.
Oh, I get you. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, and then I'm afraid, on top of feeling guilty about feeling bad, I'm afraid that the universe is now going to punish me on top of it.
Yeah. But Abraham took it to a different direction, you see, from what you're saying, feeling bad about feeling bad, right? Uh-huh. Actually, she's saying feel good about feeling bad.
Mm-hmm. I like that.
Take this as your data. That provides you data because it provides you with the clarity what you don't want.
Right. I think that's awesome.
But I know what you mean. I was there too.
Yeah. But another piece of this is that it doesn't matter what they say. We're still wired that way, and that's a program that has been built up and embedded for a long time. And to just hear somebody just say, "Well, no, change how you think about this and feel good about feeling bad."
Right.
That doesn't change much of anything overnight.
Right.
You have to. You kind of keep layering that one on.
But I mean, if you're not feeling good about the contrast, then your ability to see what this contrast gives you, the information, right?
Yep.
The valuable data that needs to be. I mean, it's at some point you start appreciating it because that's information. Where else will information come from? Mm-hmm. There has to be something that happens that makes you derive some kind of value from that experience of living, right?
Oh,
so if you're all rosy glasses and running around celebrating, where is the data coming from? You know?
I like that. Yeah, I agree with you. I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
But,
Go ahead.
I think the law of attraction, though, that sort of instruction to sort of suppress what you're feeling, it certainly sells a lot of scented candles and things like that, right? Self-care, right? You have to care for yourself because you just got done abusing yourself, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's great for capitalism, I assume.
Well, there's two things. One is that what Gabi you were just describing comes around to what you were describing earlier, Jill, and that's the whole being able to you're trying to become more objective about the things that are going on in your life, so that you can see them for what they are versus how they feel, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's just coming out of a program. The way we feel about it is just how we think about it. So,
but then there's another team, just not to miss that other point, right? I mean, maybe feeling bad could be accepted because it's kind of enjoyable too sometimes.
Yeah,
sometimes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
I mean,
want to feel
it's an experience. Who says I'm the creator? I say how I want to feel about this.
Yeah.
Nobody, no Tony Robbins, no Abraham Hicks will tell me how I'm going to have.
There's a certain amount of power.
It's empowering
in feeling bad.
Yeah.
Sometimes, when you just like sink your teeth into it and it's I hate when this happens to me, right? You're still proclaiming yourself as a victim, but there's some, if you can build some rage up or whatever that, you got some power going, you can do something with that.
Oh, but if there is a watcher, right? So say if somebody really got me angry, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm angry. I could feel it. It's there.
I can see it.
The momentum, it's rage, And so, but then there is this, I guess, after a certain point, there's a watcher that is I'm looking at myself, right?
Right.
I'm thinking, oh man, you're really great in your anger. I mean, look at you. You're like, wow, so much mojo, so much,
people get out of your way.
You're enjoying, my God, your heartbeat. Look at you. That's great. That must be good for your calorie burning thing, right? You're burning a lot right now.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. That sometimes you need that rush of adrenaline or just misery to change something. Also, though, one of the things that I start to say one of the things that I teach. Let me be honest. As my coaching has changed over the years, let me just tell the truth. So no, but as my coaching has changed over the years, or evolved over the years, or devolved according to how you feel about it, really what I'm dealing with is the battle between good and evil. That's really what I'm dealing with, and that I believe, and some of this is personal experience as well. There's a real battle for souls going on this planet. Good and evil. And it's much more like a superhero movie or comic strip than it is, the Mary Tyler Moore Show. Did I just age myself? You know what I'm saying? The life looks very mundane and, going to work or cleaning your clothes or whatever. But really, I feel like on an energetic level, it really is about which side are you coming down on, right? And so I'm not talking about moralistic sort of behavior, but more, all right, I had a personal encounter with the dark side, and it was in a seminar that was not designed for that kind of thing. So imagine my chagrin, right? And after that, and this was probably 15 years ago or so, after that, I really said, wow, okay, this is what's going on. And I started integrating that into my coaching. I think your superhero power, right, is your life purpose. And it's the thing that you're the best at. You love it. You're probably way better at it than, anybody in a 500-mile radius, most likely, right? You can do it until you drop dead. You never get tired of it. You don't get bored. You're always learning about it. And by definition, it helps humanity, right? So if you know what that is, then you know to do it and not feel like, well, I may be on vacation. I get a chance to do that. Or maybe, you try to start integrating that into your day-to-day life. It's not equal to a job title. So a lot of people get stuck right there, how do I find my life purpose? And they're looking for a job title, and chances are it's not going to be that. The thing that screws us up, the dark side, I believe, and you were talking about these emotions coming out of programming. The program in us, according to what I teach and what I believe in my experience, the program is a very short little piece of script. It's almost like computer language. It's got an if-then format.
Yep.
If something jacked up happens, this is what I'm going to do, right? And the something jacked up, for you, it'll be a specific scenario, right? That thing, I believe, is our handshake with the dark side, or our handshake with the devil. Now, have you ever watched any of those paranormal shows and like bad stuff is happening in someone's house, and then the investigators always say, did anyone invite the devil into this house? And of course you're going to say no, right? And then they start questioning, Ouija boards, anything like that? And then they're like, oh yes, we use the Ouija board 7 times a day. So this, right? They didn't know any better, right? So I believe as kids, something happens, that entity comes to us. I know how this sounds, but this has been my experience. That entity or that energy comes to us and says, listen, little boy, little girl, if you just do this, you're going to be safe from now on. Don't you worry. You're never going to get hurt like this again. You're probably not even able to talk at this time, right? It could be a dirty diaper, right? Or it could be you had a toothache because you're teething. So you don't have words. You're not going to engage in an intelligent conversation with this thing. You just go, yes, done. And then it becomes the script that is now, it's like a computer virus. It's in your will. The will has creative power and manifestation power. It attracts things in, right? According to the ledger, I think your will kind of has a ledger, the positives and negatives. If the positives on any given topic for you outweigh the negatives, even if it's something that's like, oh, not so great, that's what you'll get, right? I think that's the real law of attraction. But then this, what I call counter purpose, right? This deal with the devil is running this if-then script in there. So it's hijacking that manifestation power, and it's manifesting things on that negative side as well. The solution to that, according to what I teach, is your purpose. And this, what I call counter purpose, this piece of script, its purpose is to stop you from doing your purpose and to make it painful. So like in the Bible, after Adam and Eve have that little screw up with the apple and such, right? I think God says to them something like, from now on, you will bear your children in sorrow. Well, that could be literally the truth because it's painful, right? But it could also be sort of, a way of saying your creativity now is going to come hard. Once you make that deal with the devil, it's going to be hard for you to do and be what you were designed to be. So anyway, that's my.
Yeah, I love this about the creativity, right? Creativity as a whole will be hard, right?
Yeah.
And the ultimate creativity, which is the birth of a new human being, right, is really hard. So, yeah.
Well, I'm hearing another way of talking about these things like ego, the lizard brain thing that's hardwired to stop us from doing anything new because it means we're going to die.
Right.
It's ridiculous, but it doesn't reason. You've got we're walking around with computers, biological computers between our ears, and we're constantly reinforcing whatever programs are there, right? Unintentionally, or it's the brain. There's so much information that comes at us; it's unbelievable. But we filter out all but just this tiny little percentage of it, and what the brain hangs on to is what reinforces what we already believe. It reinforces the programs that are already there. So unless something happens to kind of snap us into realization that, we're not helping ourselves somehow, that just gets stronger and stronger.
Yeah, I think that's true. And that counter purpose I'm talking about, that kind of brain computer virus, it's dark, but, we were talking about getting that little hit of adrenaline, for being angry or something. This thing is so angry. And it gives you this huge adrenaline rush, right? And that shit is addictive. It really, truly is. And so the first thing I do with clients is, well, not the first thing, but once they figure out what their counter purpose is to get them to start making that counter purpose painful. It's like basically getting off drugs, right? Because you've been addicted to that adrenaline, right? So that's a chemical. That's no joke. So you're really addicted. So it's making it painful, right? So having to go back and make amends, having to apologize, having to own up to, okay, what actually happened? How did I create? And
is it even possible? I mean,
is it possible to do that?
Yeah, Joe, because if for most of the people I know, for example, I lived in New York for 17 years, right?
Oh God!
In people are angry, and they're not shy about expressing their anger either, in New York, especially during the times, I remember the times after 9/11, for example, where all the posts had this pictures of people missing, it was a terrible period. Oh, we were so low. But there's a lot of anger. And so when you're surrounded by this accumulated, I don't want to use the strong word toxicity, but there's this, what you call, right, this accumulated anger, right? On your own to try to transform, you could use all you want. It's just the powers are just not comparable, there has to be something in addition that helps you. What I found for myself in this instance, because I was losing that battle, right, was to actually seek the companion of people who are already there.
Right.
Right. People, the people who I could see that they are awakened by the way they talk, the way they conduct their lives. People who do all that they do and find time to do so much more kindness in the world, right? And you just go and surround yourself by these people, and then I think you have a fighting chance. If you decide, if you decide to do it.
Yeah, if you decide, and if you're, kind of how I think of it is, if you're willing, if you're the balance of your will is saying, what, this is not the character that I'm willing to play anymore. I think once that will shifts, right? So I'm also an acting teacher, as came up in the bio, and this concept of, how can I explain this? in the training that I do, I pull me back on track if I get off track, because I will.
We like off track.
Oh, thank you.
We spend a lot of time off track.
We pretty much on track. Yeah.
On track is boring.
Totally derailed. Exactly. So, I also teach acting, and the technique I teach is the Sanford Meisner technique, which nobody needs to know.
That sounds so familiar, this Meisner. What is this? Some kind of establishment exists, right? Meisner Theater or something, right?
Yeah, they have the Neighborhood Playhouse in New York, which is like the
Yes.
big Meisner place.
Meisner place, yes.
Yeah, and then it's like the William Esper Studio and the newer Matthew Corozine Studio where I used to teach and where I trained. Yeah. But
so it's an acting school too. I need to know more about this.
Yeah, it's an acting technique taught by the late Sanford Meisner. Yeah. And basically what it does is it's kind of like martial arts or dance in that you start with basic exercises and build, right? So the basic exercises are designed to get you to fully listen, right? And respond to what you're getting before you get a chance to think, right? So not editing and censoring yourself. And also really taking what you're getting. And so this is why that work is transformative, because like you were just saying, you decided, oh my God, there's too much toxicity in New York, right? I don't want to be in that play. But
no, I love the city. I didn't want to use that word. I want to say just sarcasm and humor, and it's all well based on their experience, because there's a lot of interesting, weird characters in New York. It's fascinating. It's entertaining. You got to enjoy it. You got to enjoy it. But back to your thing. Sorry, I interrupted.
Oh no! I mean, because
I love New York.
Really? I didn't.
I do. When I left, I'm still regretting.
Really?
That I left. Yeah.
Where are you now?
New York has also so much. Yeah. Oh, I went traveling around. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Still didn't stop. I'm still traveling.
But this can apply to anything. You're in some situation that's uncomfortable. Could be anything, right? I think once your will shifts in such a way that you're like, okay, there are positives to this, right? Or the positives may be twisted and sick, right? But let's just say, there are things that I perceive as positives. There are things I perceive as negatives. If that equation changes, vis-a-vis that topic, I will I'll attract a different situation. So I could be in the same geographic location, or I could be in the same job, same colleagues, but the experiences are going to start to change, right? Because I'm now willing to do something different or be something different or have a different experience. But part of this is going back to the acting, taking exactly what you're getting is not something that we do, right? Because we have these scripts going in our head and we filter everything out that doesn't fit the play that we're in, right? So that will is what's going to put you in a different play, right? You can walk down the street in Broadway and like, oh, I could see this, I could see that. And that's kind of like how your will governs what you're going to get, what you're willing to be and knowing that the experiences that you have really are based on this script, this play that you're in, So, yeah.
I see. It's like a chicken and an egg, right? But you need to start somewhere, to think that way so that you attract that experience, right?
Exactly.
So, I mean, can you do this in an environment that we call toxic? Yes, it's just harder, much, much, much harder work, right, to do. Because, I mean, if you think of it, you're also at the mercy of the desires of other creators around you, right? And so you could be collateral damage.
Yeah, that happens. Oh, definitely.
The universe, I mean, if their desire, I don't know how that works exactly, but I like just thinking, okay, somebody's got stronger will than me. And that will wants this house to be built right on this land where my house is, right? And they want to build a shopping center there, for example, right? And there's a big momentum there because they attract a lot of investment. So no forces that I could attract could create this for me, right? I need to change my mind about this. Right?
Yeah, most likely.
These kinds of situations, right? So,
yeah. But I always, suggest that folks try not to decide what they have to do until it's abundantly clear, right? So let's say, for example, there's a city council meeting and they're discussing maybe having a shopping mall, right? Mm-hmm. All right, at least technically, the official line is that it's not a done deal yet. So maybe you might work with your will in the interim to see if something can shift, in terms of that.
Definitely.
But when it's too late, then it's time to go into a different play, obviously, right?
Right.
When the bulldozers are at your front door.
Exactly.
Exactly. So to the law of attraction, that's why I'm kind of like team knows, right? I have a few friends, our common friends, who came into the law of attraction from the power of now.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now made a big impact.
Huge thing, yeah.
Right? And still, there's other books. New Earth, for example, is an amazing book. Those are just, you read from every day. These are the kinds of books. Although there's an interesting book on Amazon debunking all of the Eckhart Tolle's things.
Oh, really?
And done so very interestingly, very logically, well-founded. And
it's the dark side, that's all.
It's an amazing read, yes.
How do they debunk? I mean...
Oh, you're going to enjoy this read. It's amazing.
Really?
Yeah. It's going to have you convinced at times, because the arguments are strong.
Yeah.
So, I always do that. I kind of use I find something that I'm becoming so sure about. Uh-huh. I start looking for things to debunk them. There's a way of testing your
I do that a lot.
Confidence. Right?
Yeah.
So, well, we're going back to that thing, right? So, okay, so they're building this shopping mall, and I cannot create what I want, which is, it doesn't look like it's going to work. My house is gone. And I mean, sometimes it's a very sentimental thing. For example, your father lived there, your father of your father lived there, and the great grandfather lived there. And they came there right from Ellis Island.
Yeah.
So this is a big deal.
Yeah.
Right. And so you can't create it now. But Eckhart is saying that life happens and you just be in the moment. Mm-hmm. Okay. And accept life as it happens and enjoy it. All these illusions about assigning value to these material things, and inflating them, and in the process of doing so, missing your current now, this moment, right? Because you're preoccupied now, you're worrying too much about the future. And life happens now, in this moment, you're missing it, right? So this kind of thing. So it's like, the combination of the law of attraction and the power of now, plus some principles that you call, that's very interesting because I'm listening to you call it a will, right? Mm-hmm. Immediately, the light went up in my head was desire. She talks about the desire. Mm-hmm. Desire, right?
Actually not, but go ahead, finish your point.
So that's
I shouldn't have let him do that. He's going to... Yeah. I'm sorry.
Well, the will, it's how much you want it, right? It's your will, it's your desire. Desire. And then you talked about the dark side. This is the opponent. Right? We don't call it the dark side. We don't assign the negative value to it. It's opponent. And it's there to make your experience more interesting because that's where entertainment is. That's where that's where the play is. That's where the spectacle, the action, right, happens. Right. Otherwise, it's just all, fluff. Right.
I mean, that's definitely a way of looking at it. That's definitely a way of looking at it. I think I definitely was, of that mind prior to, a scary experience that I had at that seminar I was telling you about. That was the one thing that made me feel differently, a little, quite a bit more strongly about this light and dark and all that. But one thing I do tell folks about will, as I define it, or as I work with it with people, it's not desire, right? So I know a lot of the law of attraction, let's just say, there's like, okay, you select a goal, and then you want to get your desire high, whip your desire up. And, I've actually heard people say, you can go out and take a run or something to get your blood pumping or, whatever.
Yeah.
Vision boarding, all that to get yourself excited.
Yeah.
And that combination of strong desire and positive feeling will, make it happen. But I always tell folks that strong feeling is not a to-do, because I thought it was a to-do. I'll pick a goal. Now I got to whip myself up, right? Mm-hmm. And what I'm coming around to is, no, you're going to feel that excited if you're on point with your purpose. That's when that boundless excitement is going to come, even when things are not going well. It's still, hey, I still love this. I'm still good at this. Maybe I can't do it this week because I got to do whatever. But it's always going to be associated with that strong desire. Mm-hmm. And but also it's heavier than that. So like will sort of feels like
it's what feels good, right? That's what you want to say. It's what feels good.
Yeah, your purpose is going to feel good, but your will may not always feel good.
Well, like thinking about it makes you feel good, no?
Yeah, thinking about your purpose is going to make you feel good. Absolutely.
And knowing about it with clarity, like this is my will. Yeah, and I'm enjoying the clarity that I know what I want. You know, that, like I'm enjoying that. That's just the difference in semantics. You see, it's the same.
Yeah, it's not desire, but I just want to say the way I think of will, it's not desire, right? Because we manifest a ton of things that we don't desire, right? Because that will is saying, okay, this may be jacked up in the following 12 ways, but there's this one thing over here that for you right now, or for me right now, is important enough that I'm bringing it in, right? So you have the same bad relationship 100 times, or, the same jacked up dynamic with someone. I don't know. So the desire, I don't think, is what makes things manifest for sure. But you do feel desire.
Desire is like the fuel, right? It's the gas that you apply to the motion that you're, that helps. And the more you desire, the more emotion you got behind something, the more movement you've got in whatever direction.
Jill, do you believe, and Tim, you too, because we never talked about that.
Oh,
right. Do you feel that you're thinking about something and feeling good about it and imagining it actually has a tangible force that actually brings it into reality? Honestly, genuinely, like, because that was a big step, to think about for me, right?
Jill, you want to go first, or you want me to go first?
No, go right ahead.
Okay, so this is something that we had a little discussion on in our Abraham Hicks group a few weeks back. There are people who will come out and say whatever you think about is what you're going to get. All right, and we had somebody in the group who flat out said, "Yes, that's how it works." Because for me, that's how it works. Whatever I think about, I get. I think she's full of crap. Right? And I'm being nice. I love her, but I don't think she's truly honest with herself. But my interpretation is what you think about influences what you're going to get. Right? If you're the thing I used to like to use is you're a non-believer in this stuff, and you say, all right, I'm going to test it. Everybody says I just got to focus on something and I'm going to get it. So, all right, universe, I'll give you 30 days. I got a birthday coming up in 30 days from now. I want a new Corvette convertible, red with, cream leather interior, bring it. And you get excited about it. You're willing to let yourself play the game, and you get excited about it, and time passes, and you're waiting. Birthday's tomorrow. Here it comes. I'm going to get my new car. I don't know how, but it's coming. And your birthday comes, and you have a party, and somebody walks in the door with a box, and they hand it to you, and you open it up, and it's a model of a Corvette convertible. Right? That's how this stuff works. You don't get the big stuff as you want the big stuff right out of the gate, because your experience, your belief, your programs all say you can't.
Finally, we have a helicopter.
Is that what that is? It doesn't sound like a helicopter.
That was a motorcycle or something.
Just
no!
Sound effects to make my point. I thought but that's how I see it. But the problem is that person will look at this and go, "Well, this shit doesn't work. Here's the proof. This doesn't work." And I look at it and go, "That's the proof it's working." It's you're just beginning with this, and you don't believe, and you don't expect it, and and you're looking for the reasons why it won't work. So it's an example of somebody holding something in their hands that is proof of both sides of that same coin. How do you want to look at it? So yeah, Gabi, I think I think it helps to move things in the direction that you want to go. I don't think there's anything that we can do that is going to guarantee that we will get what we want. I just don't think that's possible because we're just not. I mean, in theory, yes.
Fair enough. I mean, that's a genuine.
Yeah, I think we're just not there
based on experience, and all. Like that, it's hard for us material beings to imagine that there's direct connection, right? And it's like a 3D printer that I want something, click, and it's there, right? So, what do you think, Jill?
Okay, I'm going to sound like the crackpot. I don't think beliefs are the determinant of what you get or don't get. I think they can, sort of occur around the same time something happens or doesn't happen, and then we say, oh, it was the belief that made it possible. But I've had a million things happen on the positive and the negative side that I didn't believe were possible. Right. So I can't believe if there's some sort of law, right, that applies to manifestation or something, or purposeful manifestation, intentional manifestation. I don't think it's belief. I do believe, as you said, Tim, you can be focused on something or thinking about something, and you'll start seeing it, or somebody will give you some information about it. That definitely happens. That's one of the reasons I tell my clients, start really watching and listening as to what's going on, because the universe starts talking back to you.
Hi, this is Tim Starr. Thanks for joining me and Gabi on the universe between your ears. We really appreciate you taking the time to hang out with us for a little while. And we'd like to see you again. So be sure to subscribe wherever it is you're consuming the podcast from, whether it's YouTube or Stitcher or iTunes or whatever the hell else is out there. We want to see you again. We also want to hear from you. So let us know what you think of each episode. Let us know if you got an idea for a future episode that you think would be just killer. Absolutely, let us know. All right? Thanks again, and we will see you next time around. Bye-bye.